Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking into something that's pretty mind-bending.
Yeah.
How researchers are actually making large language models even smarter, but by teaching them to be more patient.
It really is fascinating work, and it kind of challenges how we think about how these AI systems learn and reason.
I always thought that the goal was to make AI faster and more efficient.
Right.
But this research suggests that maybe slowing things down
Yeah.
could actually be the key to unlocking a whole new level of understanding.
Yeah, that's right. The paper that we're diving into today is actually called Patience is the Key to Large Language Model Reasoning.
Okay.
And the findings are really pretty remarkable. By training LLMs to be more patient, the researchers actually got a 6.7% performance boost
Wait, 6.7%? That doesn't sound...
on a challenging reasoning benchmark called GSM-8K.
Oh, wow. Okay. That might not sound like a lot
Yeah.
to the average person.
True, but in the world of AI research, that's a significant jump. GSM-8K is a collection of thousands of grade school level math word problems. And it's often used to assess the reasoning abilities of these AI systems. So a 6.7% improvement is actually a big deal.
Okay, that puts it into perspective. But I'm still curious how you even teach an AI to be patient. It's not like you can tell it to take a deep breath and count to 10.
Of course not. The researchers actually use a technique called preference optimization.
Okay.
They essentially showed the LLM examples of both concise and detailed reasoning processes, rewarding it for being more thorough and explaining its steps clearly.
So instead of just spitting out the answer, they're encouraging it to show its work like a good student.
Exactly. And this emphasis on detailed reasoning led to some pretty impressive results.
Now, to be honest, I'm pretty familiar with how large language models work,
Okay.
but I always thought that chain of thought prompting was the state of the art when it comes to LLM reasoning.
Right.
How does this patience research build on that?
Well, you're right. Chain of thought prompting, or COTU for short, has been a game changer. It's like giving the LLM a roadmap to break down complex problems into manageable steps.
Oh.
But what this new research shows is that we can further enhance COTI by encouraging the LLM to be more patient within each of those steps.
So it's not just about breaking down the problem,
Right.
but about giving the LLM the time and space to fully explore each step of the process.
Exactly. Imagine trying to solve a multi-step math problem. You could rush through each step just trying to get to the final answer as quickly as possible. Or you could take your time carefully considering each calculation and making sure you understand the logic behind it. Which approach do you think would lead to a deeper understanding and a more accurate solution?
Taking your time, for sure.
Right.
But isn't conciseness valuable in some situations? When would a quick answer be preferable?
You make an excellent point. There are certainly times when speed is paramount and a concise answer is all that's needed. But when it comes to complex problem solving, especially in areas where accuracy and transparency are crucial, patience can be a powerful tool.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in this. But how did researchers discover that LLMs were actually being trained for conciseness in the first place? It seems counterintuitive that we'd be pushing these incredibly powerful systems to just spit out the quickest answer possible.
It wasn't necessarily intentional. You see, many LLMs are trained on massive data sets of text and code, and they're often rewarded for generating responses that are similar to the data they've been trained on.
Okay.
And in many cases, the correct answer in these data sets is a concise one.
So it's like we've inadvertently been training LLMs to be the student who shouts out the answer in class without showing their work.
That's a great analogy. And just like that student who might get the right answer but doesn't really understand the underlying concepts an LLM trained for conciseness might miss crucial nuances or make mistakes when faced with a slightly different problem.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So by teaching LLMs to be more patient and explain their reasoning, we're essentially helping them develop a deeper understanding of the problems they're trying to solve.
Precisely. It's about moving beyond simply getting the right answer to actually comprehending the why behind it.
This is already so fascinating. And we haven't even gotten to the specifics of the research yet.
I know, right? There's so much to unpack here.
Yeah.
And to really illustrate the power of patience in LLM reasoning, let's delve into the specific example the researchers used in their paper.
Okay.
A word game problem involving a triple word score.
Oh, I love a good word game. Let's see how the LLM tackles this challenge, both with and without that extra dose of patience. I bet the difference will be striking.
I think you'll be surprised by how much clearer the reasoning becomes when the LLM takes its time.
Okay, so we've talked about how researchers discovered that training LLMs for conciseness was actually limiting their reasoning abilities.
Right.
And we know they use this technique called preference optimization to encourage the LLM to be more patient and explain its steps.
Yeah.
But I'm still a bit fuzzy on how that actually works in practice.
Sure. It's like this. Imagine you have a student who is great at getting the right answer, but doesn't show their work. You want them to understand the process, not just memorize the outcome. So what do?
Yeah.
You reward them when they break down their thinking, even if it takes a bit longer.
So you're essentially giving them positive reinforcement for being thorough and transparent in their reasoning?
Exactly. And that's what the researchers did with the LLM. They fed it tons of examples, some with concise answers and some with more detailed explanations. Then they used a reward system to reinforce the LLM when it shows the more patient step-by-step approach.
That's so clever. It's like they're shaping the LLM's behavior by nudging it towards a more deliberate and thoughtful way of reasoning.
Precisely. And the results speak for themselves. Remember that 6.7% improvement on the GSM-8K benchmark we talked about earlier? That's a direct result of this preference optimization technique.
Okay, that's starting to click for me. But I'm a hands-on learner. Do you think you could walk me through a specific example so I can really grasp how this patience plays out in a real problem-solving scenario?
Absolutely. Let's go back to that word game problem we touched on earlier. Remember, the goal is to figure out the value of a specific letter in a word that's been played on a triple word score.
Yeah, I remember. I'm ready to see how the LLM tackles this, first with the concise approach and then with that new patient method.
Okay, so with the concise approach, the LLM zips through the calculations and spits out the answer. It's accurate, but the reasoning is so compressed that it's almost like a secret code.
Right.
Unless you're already a word game whiz,
Yeah.
you'd be lost trying to follow the logic.
Kind of like a student just shouting out the answer without showing their work, right?
Yep.
They might be right,
Right.
but you have no idea how they got there.
You got it.
Yeah.
Now with the patient approach, everything changes. The LLM meticulously breaks down the problem into bite-sized steps. It explains how the triple word score affects the value of the word, then how to calculate the value of each individual letter within that word. It's like the LLM is holding your hand and walking you through the entire thought process.
So it's not just about finding the solution. It's about making the journey to that solution understandable and transparent.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic of this research lies. It's not just about making LLMs faster or more efficient. It's about making them more human-centered in their approach to problem solving.
That makes so much sense. And I bet this has huge implications for how we use LLMs in the future. If we can rely on them to not only solve problems, but also explain their reasoning in a way that's clear and understandable, it could really revolutionize so many fields.
Absolutely. Imagine LLMs helping students grasp complex scientific concepts or assisting doctors in making diagnoses, all while providing clear step-by-step explanations that anyone can follow. The possibilities are truly mind-boggling.
It's almost like we're giving these AI systems the ability to not just think, but to teach.
That's a brilliant way to put it. And this brings us back to that 6.7% improvement on the GSM-8K benchmark. It shows that this approach isn't just some theoretical concept, it actually translates into real-world performance gains.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder what could be possible with even greater improvements in LLM reasoning. Could we reach a point where these systems surpass human capabilities in certain areas?
It's certainly a thought-provoking question, and this research suggests that we've only scratched the surface of what LLMs are capable of. By focusing on enhancing their reasoning abilities, we might be opening up a whole new frontier in artificial intelligence.
This is also fascinating. But before we get too carried away with future possibilities, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the idea that LLMs could explain their reasoning in a clear and accessible way. Doesn't that require a certain level of self-awareness on the part of the LLM?
That's a very astute observation, and honestly, we're still a long way from understanding whether LLMs possess anything resembling true self-awareness.
So are we fooling ourselves into thinking these systems understand what they're doing? Are they just mimicking human reasoning without actually grasping the underlying concepts?
That's a debate that's currently raging within the AI research community. Some experts believe that LLMs are essentially sophisticated pattern-matching machines, while others argue that they're capable of something closer to genuine understanding.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. But regardless of whether LLMs truly understand what they're doing, the fact that we can train them to be more patient and explain their reasoning in a way that's clear and accessible is a huge step forward.
I couldn't agree more. And, this research has implications that extend far beyond the realm of artificial intelligence. It raises some profound questions about the very nature of intelligence and the value of patience in a world that often prioritizes speed and efficiency over everything else.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to explore those broader implications a bit further. What can we as humans learn from this research on patient LLMs? What does it tell us about ourselves and the world we live in?
That's a fantastic question, and one that I think we all need to grapple with as we enter this new era of increasingly powerful AI systems. What can we learn from these machines that we've created? How can we use their strengths to improve our own thinking and decision making? That's something I think we'll be exploring for years to come.
This has been such a mind-expanding conversation. Thanks
Yeah.
for guiding us through this complex and fascinating topic.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listener, I hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for the power of patience, both in the world of AI and in our own lives. Until next time.
You know, this is interesting because as we talk about this,
Yeah.
it makes me think about
Yeah.
our own human tendencies. Like
Yeah.
we're so used to instant answers and quick fixes.
Yeah.
Do you think this reliance on speed is actually hindering our ability to think deeply and solve problems effectively?
That's a great question. And I think this research actually provides some pretty compelling food for thought.
Okay.
If we're pushing these AI systems to be more patient and thorough in their reasoning, shouldn't we be kind of holding ourselves to that same standard?
It's like we've become addicted to the dopamine rush of instant gratification, like endlessly scrolling through feeds, skimming headlines, never really pausing to process the information.
Yeah, it's true. And this constant state of information overload, I think, makes it really difficult to engage in that kind of deep focused thinking
Right.
that's so essential for solving, complex problems.
So if patience is the key to unlocking the full potential of LLMs, could it also be the key to unlocking our own cognitive potential?
I think there's a strong argument to be made for that. Imagine what we could achieve if we approached problem solving with the same level of patience and deliberation
Right.
that we're now encouraging in these AI systems.
Instead of jumping to conclusions or settling for the first solution that comes to mind,
Right.
we could actually take the time to consider all angles, weigh the evidence, and explore alternative perspectives.
Exactly. And who knows what breakthroughs we could make in fields like science, technology, even art, if we allowed ourselves the time and space to truly think deeply and creatively.
Yeah. It's almost like we need to retrain ourselves to be more patient, to resist the urge to rush to judgment or settle for those quick fixes.
I think so. Maybe we can take a cue from these patient LLMs and develop new mental habits
Yeah.
that prioritize thoughtful consideration over impulsive action.
Now, wouldn't that be a revolutionary outcome of this research?
Yeah.
Not just more intelligent AI, but a more intelligent humanity.
It's certainly a possibility worth striving for. The goal of AI shouldn't be to replace human intelligence, but to augment it,
Yeah.
to help us reach new heights of understanding and creativity.
Well said. And on that inspiring note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, this has been a really fun conversation.
Thanks for joining me on this journey. It's been great.
It's been a pleasure. And to our listeners, we'll leave you with this challenge. In a world that so often prizes speed and efficiency above all else, what would happen if you embraced a little more patience in your own life? Could it lead to deeper insights, more creative solutions, or even a greater sense of peace and clarity amidst all the chaos? The answer, my friend, is yours to discover. Until next time, happy exploring a